Hi, everybody, and welcome to your Thursday lighting critique. We have 2 animations to go through, I believe 4 images to go through as well. So we'll go ahead and start actually with Kat, because Kat is on live with us, as I sound like a radio DJ. So Kat, you just got this render through. This is our first time taking a look at. We've got about 100 or 200 frames almost, and
Yep.
what we were just looking at was. Let me go ahead and clear my sketches so you can kind of see it. So if you watch her, there's like a little flashing line that kind of comes across her. And it's interesting because in this slow motion shot, she's moving very slowly at this point, right? And it's not that she's like moving quickly, but it's not like that frame rate's kind of slow. It's like they've actually slowed her down as part of the animation. So she's not moving that much. But if you look, there's something that causes like a line to go across both her, and if you look over here, if you look back over here, you can see it in the background too, a little line that goes across. And actually, as I was just saying that, I was thinking that what actually might be happening, it could be the result of because there's a couple things too, like if you look at her leg right here,
Yeah.
you can see that kind of popping. So I don't know if they're related or not, but the one thing I was thinking was, I know that there's some tomfoolery shenanigans going on with the robots as when they're off camera, like they kind of slide around a little bit. So I'm almost wondering if they're like off camera moving and we're picking up a reflection of their metal surfaces, perhaps, or it could be or it could be a light or something. So always be aware. So because when animators or effects artists, when other artists are working on their shots, sometimes they'll leave things off camera, and in order to achieve their goals, and they won't always because it won't be a problem for them because you can't physically see it. But with lighting and with all of these calculations going on, sometimes what's off camera can influence what's on camera. So you may just want to check and make sure there isn't like a robot sliding around on the ground there or something.
So if it is the robot, how would I fix that?
I
Make him
would
less shiny, or
you can keyframe off his visibility for those frames, so that the animation is still there. It still moves from point A to point B or wherever it needs to go.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but
Why did it get all pixelated all of a sudden? That's weird.
oh, that might be on your end. I think that might just be your internet.
Oh, okay. Cool. So, okay, well, I'll check that. And then the other thing, there were 2 lights that I think are rendering that weren't supposed to, but I hadn't fixed that one with the flip.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a little like almost overexposed on the red, but I don't know, should I keep that? Because it kind of, with the type of lighting I'm doing, that red kind of emergency light does tend to look a little overexposed a lot. Should I keep it or should I fix it?
The red light on her as she's going through her flip looks good.
Okay.
The amount of white light that's on her when she lands into the superhero pose, it's a lot, but I don't think it's. I mean, like this back here on her back is too bright, but but I think the idea is strong, that we have this like.
Yeah, there's a spotlight that's not supposed to be on yet. That is. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to turn that off.
Got it. The other thing was that I was noticing. Oh, the robot's cool. Okay, never mind. I would say because there was a point with this robot, this first one. Is he's gold as well, right? Or is he red?
No, he's red. So the only one that's gold is the last one. These guys are red.
Okay, this one. That's right. This one I think can get because it's red being hit by red light, and he looks a little bit dusty in here. I think we can get some more. I think we can get some more red in this value, and also increase the specularity on some of these and make it look a little bit more metally.
Yeah, I had him shinier, and then I toned down the material, so I can make him shinier
It's
again.
just like
I was messing with the material.
This amount of spec and shininess looks really good, and so I would use that to match and just keep their colors a little different.
What do you think of overall, like, how she fits into the scene and going through? Because she's kind of, now I have her, and I like it better where she's like going from white to red light. Mm-hmm. So it looks like she's more into the scene.
Yeah, I think it looks good. I mean, I think it's really. I mean, I don't know if it makes total logical sense that when she jumps up, she's now out of the white light, but I think it's a cool thing. Like, I think I just like that she's moving through light patches. Like, I think that's neat.
Yeah, I can move a light back over. I rearranged a bunch of lighting, so I got rid of a bunch of lights that were over her.
Mm-hmm.
So I just can put one up so it looks like she's going in towards the light a bit better. But yeah.
The pattern in her outfit looks good too.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I got that to work. I was happy.
Oh. Yeah. It looked like it did something weird there for a second. Sorry, I was looking at her leg there and kind of moved there for a second, but that was maybe it's just an optical illusion. Yeah, background's looking better.
I have depth of field on it too a little bit. I didn't want to go crazy with the depth of field, just enough to kind of blur the background out.
That's great. No, it looks good. I think are these the same orange that we saw yesterday? They feel a little bit more saturated and not quite.
Should be the same.
Okay.
Should be the same color, but what I did do was there's a spot, like a white spotlight on them, or point light, to try to make the back, because they're area lights, so they weren't lighting up the wall behind them. So I put little spotlights to make it have more light around there. So I don't know if that's affecting the color.
Yeah,
the spotlights are white; they're not orange or red.
Yeah.
Or the point lights, I should say.
Let's see if we can do this. Just save something here real quick.
It should be the same ones as yesterday.
Yeah, let me just open this and see if this works. Because again, what I was looking for, usually what I look for when I look at light sources is this point in the middle where the bulb is, pushing it to the point where it goes. It's like, I like to think about it as going past the saturation point. I know that sounds it sounds strange, but like it gets, like, you see, like when it gets brighter and brighter, it just moves more and more towards white.
Right.
So it would basically be like, it's a little big, but like getting up into this realm. Let me blur this a few pixels. So then, because what you want to see is like, actually, right about there. Because that might be a little bit bright, but maybe something more. I want it to be like maybe like that, and then maybe blur it a few a little bit more because it's a little tight. Because what you want to see is some variation in there, because then it feels like there's a screen over a light source, right? And that could be as easily as like I said, putting that in the shader of the cover, like just making it a ramp with a bright area in the middle or something, or doing it in
okay, like trying to do a gradient on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, just do it in the shader, so it's not like, because you don't actually need there to be a bulb that's cylindrical shape, like, and that way, because then if it's like this, it just feels a little bit flatter.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Let's see, where else would I go? All right. Okay, cool. Let's head over into Gloria's and take a look at how her John Adams turtle is doing. This is looking good. The biggest thing for me is, I think the positions of, I think the background looks good in this shot. I think the background looks better in that shot. Good there. The biggest thing for me is I think we can get a little bit more contrast on the turtle. Let me look at the owl. It's about as good as we can get the owl. I just think, like, basically, I think that in fact, let me do this with this. Let's see if I can find a good frame here. Let me pull this into Photoshop and just take a look here. Because I think that the difference between the fill value and the key value on the turtle is a little too similar. And let me just grab the turtle himself and see if I can. And actually, let's just do this for the time being. I'm just dropping in a black. Ooh, that's not black. A black color over the top. Swapping this out to our color. And what I'm trying to see is, like, if you kind of look, other than the very bright points of that kind of rim light, the screen left side and screen right side of his face are about the same value, and we want to make sure that the key side's a little bit brighter. So I think on the turtle himself, it's almost a matter of like pushing up. Let's just push up the brights a little bit. do that for his key side, and then take this down a little bit for the fill side. This is just a mock-up, as always. Keep some of that value in there. So for the fill side, it would be like keep it more along those lines, and on the key side, it would be a little bit more like that. So, right now we've got it kind of flat, a little bit flatter. It's just a matter of pushing and pulling those just a little bit more. Make that a little brighter because I don't want to get too dark on the fill side. So just pushing the one side and pulling down a little bit more on the other, and I think then we'll be in a pretty good spot. Don't. That's okay, actually. Ignore that. Don't. But I think, I think everything else. I think everything else is coming together well. Let's see, Ruby, Aaron, or Kat. Do you guys see anything? Any areas that you would want to see improved upon with this?
Should his glass frames be a bit speckier?
Yeah, they could.
If they're metallic.
Yeah, the red frames themselves could use a little metallic quality to them. That's fair. Like similar to like his belt buckle, not quite that much on the owl's hat. Like this one has a little bit more. It doesn't need to be that much, but just a little bit more. Be good.
The reflections look good on the glasses themselves.
Yeah, I agree. They're nice and present, but not distracting, which is what we're going for there. Yeah, the rest of it's coming together really well.
I guess I just have a question. I think somewhere it was established that this is being done in Unreal, right?
Correct.
Okay. So does Unreal produce render layers that you can then take into Nuke, or is it all about just getting it done in one beauty pass? I mean, I get for like an actual video game, it's important to nail it, like in the shot itself. But like, I'm thinking more like for smaller animation studios.
Sure.
Is it something that I would be able to like utilize if I wanted to start learning Unreal? Do you know?
Kat, you've worked with it more than I have, right? Have you?
To be honest, I'm not sure. I think there is a way. I know people have composited stuff, but Unreal itself doesn't have a compositor. But I think you have a lot more control over stuff in the engine too. There's a lot more settings on how to adjust. Like the materials are insane. Like the amount of things you can you can go in with a bunch more variables and change all your materials. So I'm not sure how much of it you would do in Compositor, but I do know like with the materials and stuff, you have so much more control in the engine as to how you can tweak things.
Yeah, so that's basically been my understanding as well, is that the engine is, so the engine was designed to be a game engine, and then we've been appropriating it more for other purposes, for more static purposes. And yes, there are ways to do it, but it's just not like Kat was saying. It's not set up like Arnold, where you're like, oh, AOVs, click, boom, bunch of AOVs, and then you render. It's more there is it's like anything else. There is a way to do it. It's just a little more convoluted or a little more complicated. The other thing, by the way, Gloria, sorry. The other thing that I was just noticing was that I would like to see a little more shadow between this cane and the chest of the owl, because that's like a major contact point. So we want to feel that, like something to get some darkness in there, because right now it's almost like it's floating above the owl. That would be it. All right, cool. Let's hop over to these stills. But good question, Aaron. And from my standpoint, like I've only I've done a little bit in Unreal, but not like a full-fledged production to know how much compositing and stuff goes into it. All right. Okay, so we've got Amanda, Austin, Mercy, and Ruby. Ruby, you are here with the possible ability for a microphone. I know we've had trouble the last couple days. That's okay. So I wanted to pull up your old references. I was taking a look at it because you referenced it in your text. And I was looking at the amount of like spill on the ground here, and it's interesting because I don't think that this shot itself, like where we just see the environment without any characters at all, is in the film. I think this is generally these things are these are done for like marketing purposes. You release these to companies and so that they can put their product or whatever into Coco Land. But it's interesting to me that like after looking at this a few times, there is like a pretty clear kind of spotlight right here in the middle, which you almost feel like there's something missing there. But and that was only because I was looking at the ground, and I'm not saying you should do that in yours, but it was just something to be aware of when you're analyzing this reference. But that being said, I do feel like we could probably get some more, because you were talking about light on the ground, and I do feel like we could perhaps get some more light spillage onto the ground from these areas a little bit. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily need to be like, there's not a lot of yellow orange light here on the ground. It just kind of picks up in the specks and on these edges, but just having a little more light overall on the ground might be good. Yeah, so for this, I think that I'm liking the way that this is coming together. Like I like the way it's like a dark, light, dark as we're going, like this is like 1, 2, 3 as we go back into that space. The other wall, I feel like we can tighten up where the yellow is influencing. I think that we can kind of like just get it into a smaller sliver, and that's just because we're kind of seeing straight down the edge of that wall, and it may not be, but it just feels a little more broader, because what I want is the same type of a thing where there's like a little bit more, I guess it's kind of there. There's some darkness here to the front, and then really it's just more about having some more darkness towards the back. I think would be good.
Should there be maybe more shadow on that blue building in the back? Because everything else looks like it's got light and dark, but the blue building, like the top blue, really stands out, but then it kind of feels really flat.
Yeah, that's true. Like especially like
maybe just a more variation in the material or something. So it's like it's like everything else looks nice and clay-like and stuff on the and plaster on the textures, but that one just looks like boom.
Yeah.
Here's some blue.
Yeah. No, that's true. Like it might be a matter of just getting some ambient occlusion on there or something, just to, because you can see some shadowing in there, but it feels a little bit lifted. Let's see what else we got. I want to emphasize these doilies. I don't know what to call them. I don't know what they're called, but like I want to. It almost feels like there needs to be a little bit of like a rim light on them or something, especially like these in the middle. They just kind of get lost, and it's almost like there's more light that can kind of hit their edges to kind of play them up, because they are kind of nice. The way that like you can kind of see this one as it swings back here, they hit like this pocket of light, and I just want to see a little bit more out of that of the foreground ones. I'm almost wondering, and I know we talked about this early on, but I almost wonder if we should turn off the lights inside the windows back here. Maybe not. Let's leave. Actually, you know what? Let's just leave them on for now. The only reason why I was saying that was because I was looking for an opportunity to find, yes, a little more darkness back there, but the problem is they just look good. So, so the other thing that I was thinking too with this, looking back to the reference. Let me see.
I think just as far as the lights on the ground comment, the colored lights, I think if you look back at the reference, it looks kind of like they have lights strung across the path. Mm-hmm. In the top you can kind of see a little bit. Mm-hmm. So that might be how they're getting more lights on the ground. So maybe that's some of it. Yeah, it's also... Yeah.
It's also, and this is why I was thinking about turning off the windows, not because of their contribution to this main area. It's the reflection that they're getting down here is really kind of overtaking the color of everything else. And it would be nice is if we had a little bit more of the softer, colorful look, as opposed to, because like I really like seeing some of these specular highlights from the colored light, and it would be nice if this light over here on the ground got a little more specularity in here, like similar to what we're seeing out of the window, but it's just like the window light is kind of just everywhere on the ground there, and really the dominant force on the ground. And I really just want to emphasize more of the Christmas light stuff. This is a tough look. And then the other thing I was thinking was that we got this light coming down here. It's almost like the door is getting either overly lit and also getting a little bit flat, and could use some specularity on it there. Like, that's not really a good example of that here. But it's almost like, because there'd be lights, there would be some shadowing happening here because there are some lights coming up. So like this, yeah, because then this part would get a little more light than this part. Yeah, there would be some shadowing under there, I think, a little bit. So I don't know if there's a way of working that in. Let me look at this one a little more after I get off. I might send you a paint over or something, because there's something about the composition that's not working yet, and I can't figure out what it is. There's something about it, like there might just be too much light and too much going on. Let me play around with this a little more after we talk, and I'll send you a message, Ruby, if that's okay. But because here's the thing, it's like your individual elements are working pretty well, and and usually it's the case of like, oh, this needs to look more this or less like that, and I'm not really seeing too many opportunities for that. But what I am seeing is like an image that's not cohesive yet, and I can't figure out why. So give me a minute to sit on it, and then I'll send it over to you. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. We'll go backwards here. So we've got Mercy. So this is the newer version. This is the previous version. I think the nose looks a lot better. I think the little addition of the hair is really, really good. Like just seeing those like lines and specular highlights is really nice. Double check that this is kind of doing the same thing, because this looks really good, but now this looks extra bumpy. So just make sure that they're being set up the same way. And then now we're just down to a couple of really small tidbitty things. So I had 3 ideas. One was to add a little bit more that redness back to the skin, because it looks like we've gone a little bit more yellow, and I do like having a little bit of the red in there. Number 2 is this little bit of brightness right around her lip and nose. I would soften that if you can. And then number 3 is this top part of her iris is getting a little bit dark. It's a little like too, like, I love that there's the variation there. It's just we've gone a little bit too heavy on that side. Yes. Oh, Diana, you're here. Look, check it out. It's your trick with the specular, the noise pattern being stretched in the direction of the specularity on the hair. I've been stealing that and using that other places. It's Diana's idea.
Weird. But
Yeah.
I feel like it looks different in the front and the back.
That's what I said. So I said it looks really good up front here, but the back looks a little bit bumpy. So I think just making sure that they're set up the same. But I think that this looks really nice, like compared to the previous version without it. It just makes such a nice, like, big difference. So, good job. All right, cool. Austin, you were up next. Sorry, Dana, I always put you on the spot. So sorry again, as always. So this is cool. So you've made a lot of progress from yesterday's iteration. The biggest things that I was thinking was there were a few things. Number 1, I love how this fill light on her screen right side is getting a little bit of the hair here, and I'd love to see the key light do the same thing on this side. Just like pick up a little bit of the hair and rim it up a little bit on the screen left side. Number 2 is the specularity on the skin is nice, and it's becoming more apparent. But the thing but the thing that we're running into now is that, especially like if you look at her arm, the specular highlight's like perfect. It's and what it ends up feeling like is almost like the character is a mannequin, and so we want to break up that the skin tone with some bump, like it'd be like pores or hair or whatever on the skin, but really it's just a matter of just adding like a a skin bump to it, and you can see it across the face as well. And then the third thing is the shadow on the hair actually I think this is the fourth thing. The shadow being cast on the character is a little bit tight, and I think it's a matter of you've probably reduced the radius of the light to you've reduced the radius of light to get a tighter specular highlight, but what that's doing is it's creating tighter shadows. So the way that I usually do it is I will break up the light into two components. There's like a light with a larger radius that casts a shadow and it does the diffuse stuff, and then a tighter one that's specularity only that picks up some of those highlights and stuff. Because I think the value is really good. And then lastly, and lastly, I would just get a little bit more of a spotlight on her face just to kind of lift that up a little bit. And then there's a little more we can do with the background, but I think that's a good start. And then for Amanda, very good, very cool reference. Lots of softness in this, like a huge amount of softness and really bright key lights, which is cool. You've got some of the softness going on there. I think we can darken the background a little bit because each one of these characters is distinguishably brighter, like a stop or so brighter than the background. So I would keep that up and take down the key light on the background a little bit. I would make sure that we're not pushing too hard on the diffuse values of the character. What we found in the in working with this bat, that it's really all about getting the specularity working and allowing the diffuse to fall down a little bit. Kat mentioned getting some more subsurface scattering in the wing, and I think that's a good call. And then, Kat, you had one other point in the...
Yeah, I was saying try to figure out a way maybe to make it blend a bit better with the background.
Yeah, that was really good. Okay,
I mean, if she's going for like a portrait lighting look, it's really good because, you know what, like if you're doing like an Ola Mill studio thing. But like if you want to make it blend, I'm not quite sure how to do that, but that's the other thing I was thinking of.
It's just pushing the key light a little bit more to the screen right side. It's because it's all about like window light coming in from this side, and right now it feels like the light on the character is more frontal. Like there's some artificial lights in there, which isn't awful, but in order to, it's just kind of like, where's this light coming from? Where's the light that's hitting this coming from? It's allowing those areas to fall into shadow the way that they are on the rest of the set. But the color scheme is there. You've got a lot of good characteristics going on. You can feel the bump in some of this stuff. It's like I love the patterning on the hat and getting that specular highlight up there. It's just a matter of tweaking it up now. All right, guys, that is all for today. I do have to hop, but like I said, Ruby, I will circle back on yours again and try and I'll send you a direct message. If anybody else has any questions, make sure to post. And shout out to Diana and Forrest that helped Keldon figure out that RenderMan problem, because I know that was something that's been bugging him for a few days. So good job on that team. Go team, go. All right, guys, have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you all very soon. All right, happy lighting, y'all.